I'm going to be making some videos that are designed to help guitarists who are maybe comfortable with cowboy chords, open position chords like D and C, but who are not so comfortable when it comes to playing solos, playing up the neck. So these videos are going to be kind of just an introduction into soloing, just to kind of get your toe in the water. What I'm going to do is show you two types of scales. They're both pentatonic scales, extended pentatonic scales. And the first pentatonic scale is rooted on the fifth string. I'm going to refer to it as the fifth string extended pentatonic scale. And I'm going to play it in the key of C. So I'm going to start on the note C, which is the third fret of the fifth string. And before I get too much farther into the scale, I'm going to go over a few notes that you should be familiar with on the sixth and fifth strings of the guitar. If you're somebody who sticks to those cowboy chords, you may not play up here very much. You may not know what the notes are. I would suggest that you memorize at least 3 pairs of notes going up the fretboard. The first pair of notes to memorize is the G on the sixth string at the third fret. If you think of your G chord, it's the sixth string note right here. And the other one is the C, which is, as I said, at the third fret of the fifth string, right here. Think of your C chord. It's right there. So G, C, and then up 2 frets at the fifth fret, there's A and D, and then up 2 more frets at the seventh fret, we have B and E. All of those pairs of notes often go together in songs. If you think of the 12-bar blues, for instance, you'll often have something that starts with, let's say, a G chord, and then goes to the C, and then goes up to the D. So those pairs are good to know, partly because they often appear in songs together. A couple things to keep in mind if you're trying to figure out what the notes are up the fingerboard. Each fret is 1 semitone higher than the previous note. So if you know that this is G, you know that 1 fret up is G sharp or A flat, and the next note up is A. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can find an octave 2 strings over and 2 frets up. So there's a G here on the 6th string at the 3rd fret. There's another G on the 4th string, 2 strings down and 2 frets up. The exception to that rule is when you get to the 2nd string. The tuning of the 2nd string is a different interval from the other strings. So if you wanted to play a note on the 4th string and then find its octave on the 2nd string, you would actually have to play 3 frets higher instead of just 2. Okay, back to the extended pentatonic scale rooted on the 5th string. In our example, we're going to play the C pentatonic scale. So the first note will be the 3rd fret of the 5th string with the 1st finger. The next note will be the 3rd finger, 2 frets higher. And then we'll go up 2 frets, slide your 3rd finger up. And then down a string with the 1st finger. 2 frets higher with the 3rd finger. Down a string with the 1st finger, 2 frets higher with the 3rd finger, slide 2 frets up, And then that pattern would continue if it weren't for the strange tuning of the second string. Normally there's a pattern here. We're starting with the first finger, third finger, slide. Go down a string, first finger, third finger. Go down a string, first finger, third finger, slide. Normally, if it weren't for that weird tuning of the second string, we would go down a string with the first finger, third finger, down a string, first finger, third finger, slide. And if there were more strings on the guitar, we would do the same sort of thing. First finger, third finger, first finger, third finger, slide. But because of the weird tuning, we have to do something different when we get to the second string. So I'm going to go back to the third string here with the first finger where we started from on the third string. First finger, third finger, slide. And instead of going just one string down, we're shifting up one fret. And then third finger. So it's and then one string over with the first finger, third finger, slide. When you ascend the scale, go up the scale, I would recommend sliding with the third finger. When you're going down the scale, I would recommend sliding with the first finger. There are a couple of notes that you could add if you want to add the sixth string to the scale. You could add the third finger on the sixth string and then the first finger. Practice going up and down the scale on the fingerboard so that you memorize the notes. Then when you're comfortable, you've got the notes all memorized, try to get your fingers more comfortable with some of the notes within the scale. Don't try to play all the notes in the scale every time you practice it. I would recommend that you play from the fourth string to the second string. Focus on those notes. Especially this shift. One thing that I recommend you do in order to get used to the notes of the scale is try to play the notes against just a C chord being strummed repeatedly. If you have a looper pedal, then you can just strum a few bars of C, get a loop going, and play over top of it. If you don't have a looper pedal, I'll try to post a video of a few bars of C that you can play against. To play that pentatonic scale that's rooted on the fifth string in other keys, find the note on the fifth string of the key that you want to play in. So for example, if you wanted to play it in the key of D, you would think of the scale starting at the fifth fret of the fifth string here. And so on and so forth. You could also play it in the key of E by starting with the E on the seventh fret of the fifth string. And so on and so forth. So try playing that scale in other keys rooted on the fifth string as well as playing it in C.